Hello YouTube, it's PH Gaming Scotland here and welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are well and gaming lots. So in today's video we'll be looking at and discussing my review of The Last of Us Part 2. Now before we get into the video, let me know all your thoughts down below in the comment section below. Now this video will contain spoilers as I can't give a full review of The Last of Us Part 2 without talking about one of the major plot points in the story. So that is your spoiler warning. If you haven't played or finished The Last of Us Part 2, I highly and strongly suggest that you finish the game first and then you can come back, watch the video and comment below. But that being said, this is the spoiler review. I don't know how long this is going to be, but I'll be looking at the story, the graphics, gameplay, giving you my thoughts and opinions on plot points, the characters and so much more. So yeah, sit back, relax and I hope you enjoy my review of The Last of Us Part 2. So where to start with this review? Now I like to play games because I like to have fun and totally escape from everyday life, but this game is one of the most brutal, dark, depressing games I've ever played. I would not describe this game as fun at all. This game is absolutely devastating in sections, but there is small glimmers of hope and light in the game. We pick up the story of The Last of Us Part 2 in Jackson 4 or 5 years after the events of the first game. Now Jackson is a community, quite a big community it looks like. It has a lot of different things such as electricity, running water, a lot of medical supplies, a lot of crafting, a lot of food, got horses, and it seems to be quite a comfortable way of living. Now that being said, things take an horrendous turn for the worst and it sort of sets up the whole game as we know it. Now the first game was all about love. The second game, going into it, we knew it was going to be about hate and revenge and maybe the odd bit of redemption. Now going straight into it, let's talk about the story. Now I see a lot of people online having issues with the story and I can totally understand, and I do agree to a certain extent that I like to play Naughty Dog games, I like to play PlayStation games, especially PlayStation exclusive games, for the story, and everything else like the graphics, gameplay and whatever else is secondary. So that's why I was very disappointed in the story and especially the ending of it, which I will get to later in the video. But the first main plot point was absolutely brutal. Now if you don't know what I'm talking about, hopefully most of you will be aware that Joel, one of my favourite PlayStation characters, brutally gets beaten to death with a golf club and sadly passes away in front of Ellie. Now that scene alone is one of the most disturbing, gruesome, devastating and confusing scenes that I've ever experienced in any game that I can think of. There's nothing that really compares to that brutality of that scene. So Joel dies at the hands of this at the time unknown girl, but through playing the game you play as Abby. Now she is a member of the Washington Liberation Front, another sort of faction in The Last of Us Part 2. She was originally a Firefly, but for whatever reason she then became part of this new faction which overtook the army, and they have a lot of weapons and high class medical armour, a lot of supplies, and have their own little base. So she is the one that kills Joel. Now at first I thought that whole scene alone is brutal. I was so confused and shocked. I was actually scratching my head at the time. I didn't understand why, but then looking into it a bit more, Joel in the first game probably crossed a lot of people in the first game just out of pure survival instinct, and later on in the story you do find out that the doctor Joel killed at the end of the first game is Abby's father, and obviously you can understand why she's angry and understand why she took the action she did. I don't think she should have taken that action because she showed no remorse, nothing at all, no sympathy or just no sort of emotion. She's brutally evil. I absolutely hated playing as her as I played the game, but the fact that she took Joel out as she did was unbelievably sad, devastating, and that's why I absolutely hate her as a character, especially being a new character. You want to get to know their backstory, which we did do. There was some flashback of Abby with her dad going out hunting in and playing with and throwing a ball for one of the dogs at our base, as the game is wanting you to feel sorry for her and empathise with Abby. As I said, no amount of happiness or happy scenes that the game shows you will make me ever do that, and I can't accept what Abby did in the game, but at the same time it set up the whole game that we know today. So then we're going on our revenge story throughout most of Ellie's segment of the game, and then the game makes you play as Abby, the killer of Joel. I would like to think I've got some sort of empathy, but even though Joel and Ellie weren't related as such, analogy of imagine if somebody killed one of your relatives, would you ever feel empathy, or would you ever feel sorry for the person that took your relative's life? No, you would not. So that's why I can't get over Joel's brutal death, and that's why I absolutely hate Abby to the core. However, that did set up the main sort of crux of the story. Ellie, on the other hand, was going on to a revenge sort of story. Understood why. We were all behind Ellie. We wanted Abby to meet her death, which didn't happen, and that's why the ending for me was just sort of fell flat, to be honest. Because if Ellie had killed Abby in the last fight, fine, that sort of would have made it a bit better in my opinion, but then with Ellie doing that for revenge purposes, yes, she would have done it for revenge, the game would have been over, and then they could have went on to the farm scene where Ellie would have settled down with Dina and the baby and lived happily ever after. Because at the end of the day, we've known Ellie and Joel for hours upon hours of gameplay, and they do deserve a happy ending in my opinion. That didn't happen. I thought the ending wasn't very good, to be honest, but at the last minute, and the whole thing's about revenge, but revenge didn't happen, and Ellie just let Abby and Lev, who was a really fantastic character, drive away in the boat to wherever, which made Ellie have some sort of small amount of humanity left. And I suppose looking back on it, at the time playing it, I thought, oh my god, why the hell did you let her go away? Why? This story makes you have a lot of emotions, anger, total disgust. This game's really affected me on an emotional level. I never thought a game could do that, and it has, but I do think the game could have ended a lot sooner personally. So when they're in the theatre and obviously Jesse gets shot by Abby, and then Ellie comes out from behind cover and says, this is me who you want, and then Abby had Laura Bailey, who plays Abby, did a line around, briefly paraphrasing, we let you live and you ruined it. That sort of sends shivers in my spine. It could have faded to black, cut to black there from Ellie's point of view, and then you could have had the nice scene of them settling down at the farm, and as sort of like the epilogue, and then that would have been the game. The fact that the game makes you play as Abby for, I would say, a good 10-15 hours, well, the second half of the game anyway, to try and make you feel empathy and try and make you feel sorry for her, just didn't work in my opinion. I can totally see what Naughty Dog were going for, but it just didn't work. Now, I will say there was a lot of flashbacks between Joel and Ellie. Joel did still remain a big part of the story through flashbacks. One of the main ones was when they're in the museum, the dinosaurs in space. That was a really good scene, and especially when they're in the rocket ship at the very end. Just the camaraderie, and it was just incredible. And also there was another scene where Ellie finally found out that Joel was lying to her at the end of the first game, but she couldn't quite forgive him, but she really wanted to forgive him. And there's loads of other scenes that really stood out to me, and a couple of the characters, well, one being Dina. I thought Dina was a fantastic character, as she kept Ellie grounded on the straight and narrow, and a really good partner by someone staying by her side throughout. And I think she added a lot to the story. Shannon Woodward did a fantastic job, and so did all the other voice actors and actresses that portrayed these characters and brought them to life. I thought, can't fault Naughty Dog on that. But secondly, people have said online, if you go woke, you get broke. Now, there was a lot of sexual scenes, a lot of nudity, a lot of scenes relating to like gay, lesbian, trans characters. Now, personally, love is love in my opinion. I do think it's important to show diversity in games, and I think it's very important for people from all walks of life, whether you're straight, you're lesbian, you're gay, you're trans, or bi. I think it's important to have characters in games and TV shows, films, books, or in comics, or any form of media that you can look up to and in some way relate to in a way. I think it's important for diversity. I think it's important to have a wide range of characters, a wide range of opinions and viewpoints, and I do commend Naughty Dog for having bisexual, gay and trans characters, especially one being Lev. Now, Lev was part of the Seraphites, one of the other factions, who were a religious cult that used whistling, stealth and bow and arrows to take out and take down their enemies. Abby takes care of in her section of the story, and even though Abby killed Joel in such a brutal way, I do think that she didn't get anything from that. So in order for her to, this is my interpretation, in order for her to somehow feel normal again, to try and look after Yara and Lev, and now Lev was one of the most fantastic characters, one of the most standout characters in the game, not just because he was trans, the fact that he brought a lot of dry humour to the role, but the Seraphites couldn't accept. There's a scene where Abby's looking after Lev, and he's basically, paraphrasing here again, can't remember the exact wording, but he was basically saying that he wasn't accepted in the Seraphites clan, so he ran away, shaved his hair, which was against their religion, and went on his own path. Now that must have been very difficult for Lev. I just feel that all the characters, apart from Abby, brought something to The Last of Us Part 2. But yeah, I just find characters were really good. I didn't really care for Abby. In the second half of the game, I quite frankly don't care for Abby at all, even though Laura Bailey did a good job. Now that was the sort of aspects of the story I wanted to talk about and cover. As always, let me know your thoughts below. So that being said, the story was good in parts, but the ending was trash. Absolute terrible, because Ellie had all that she had ever wanted. Settled down with Dina and the baby in the farm, and then Tommy comes back for one last mission. Tells Ellie that they found, or they know where Abby is. So Ellie risks everything to try and get revenge for Joel's death, but in doing so she loses Dina, the baby. That when she returns back to the farmhouse, it's empty with nothing, and only one room is full of her guitar artworks and posters, and obviously she's lost Dina now, and also she loses 2 fingers, because in the fight scene towards the end, Abby bites 2 of her fingers off, so now she can't even play guitar. The only thing that she has left of Joel was the music. Some really fantastic scenes throughout where you get to play the guitar with Ellie, especially in the music shop in Seattle. That's tremendous. That's totally missable, that scene. And loads of other scenes. Cutscenes were incredible. But at the end, you see Ellie walking off, eventually into the forest. Now that is left pretty ambiguous. It's down to interpretation as to what happens after that, whether she goes back to try and find Dina, or whether she tries to get back to Jackson. I don't know. But yeah, the game is one... Christ, I could do a whole video just talking about the story points in this game, while the emotions I felt in this game were unbelievable. The story was okay, had a lot of diversity of it, but in saying that note, I have to commend Naughty Dog for the graphic level design, the sound design, everything from the first game, from it being very linear, has been improved greatly in this sequel, and absolutely incredible. I just love upgrading my person and upgrading the weapons and exploring at my own pace, trying to find all the nooks and crannies and all the materials just to make the weapons and stuff. Absolutely incredible. And saying that though, and also as part of the gameplay, there was new sort of mechanics such as the dodge feature and going prone in grass. Now they added to the overall gameplay of it. I just felt the gameplay, environmental puzzles as well, being something else, especially with the rope and like the cords and things, where you had to throw like bits of rope and cord over different obstacles high up, so you can use as a climbing ladder to get to other areas. I thought that was really well done, and I thought the combat was some of the best combat I've ever played. I've seen a lot of people online say it's boring, and if you think it's boring, please tell me another game compares to the combat. The graphics, the combat, just everything about The Last of Us, apart from the ending, was tremendous, and that's why I highly recommend you play The Last of Us Part 2. This video is quite a long video, so yeah, this game was brutal. It wasn't a fun experience, and after putting 25 hours into one playthrough, I've then discovered that The Last of Us is the best selling PlayStation exclusive ever. It sold 4 million copies in 2 or 3 days, which is absolutely incredible, and yeah, that speaks for itself. So anyway guys, let me know your thoughts below, whether you've played it, whether you haven't. Let me know your story opinions, let me know just your opinions on the game. Could have spoken about this story alone for hours on end, but the whole game leaves you with so many questions, and it will definitely be a game that people will talk about for years to come. I hope there's a part 3, but I just don't see how they can make a part 3. But anyway guys, yeah, that was my review of The Last of Us Part 2. I highly recommend this game, even though the story ending, in my opinion, wasn't great, but at the same time, it was an incredible feat by Naughty Dog, and I have to commend them for that. So anyway guys, that is the end of my review of The Last of Us Part 2. Let me know your thoughts below. Thank you very much indeed for watching. I've been PSU Gaming Scotland, and I'll see you on another video. Thanks very much indeed guys. Bye bye.